Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. I always start with a few announcements. Tonight is the free call about psychiatric drug withdrawal. I'm going to give you a free sample of the types of things that we will be talking about in the psychiatric drug withdrawal course, which starts October 3rd through our school, the Wellness Forum Institute. So if you'd like to participate in that, just call our office, 614-841-7700. We'll sign you up. You'll get a really good preview of the course itself, and then I'm going to teach a little snippet of it so that you'll see the types of things that we're going to talk about. Second thing, Autism Boot Camp is in September. The Friday night, Saturday afternoon format everybody seems to like a lot. And I'm going to talk about the biological causes of autism and also some of the evidence-based solutions. I've said this many times, autism and cancer are very similar. You have a lot of polarizing ideas and some good stuff thrown in there, and just applying our science filter to autism, which we have not done yet up until now. So that's happening. I am almost finished filming the Forming and Maintaining Optimal Habits. I taught that boot camp style. We had a boatload of people who took it, great comments on it. And if you choose to take this class, and it's online at this point in time, I promise it will help you to change some habits that you need to change. And what we're going to do is, for the first 15 people who sign up after seeing this, we're going to give you a free session to evaluate your worksheets. This one's really not a certification course, and one of the reasons is because I think some people might be uncomfortable turning in some of their worksheets, because some of this is very, very personal. But if you do want to talk about this with somebody in our office who's qualified to do it, sign up, be one of the first 15 people to sign up, and you will get a chance to do that. And then last but not least, fall semester is upon us. I can't believe that it's already that time to talk about it, but September 6th starts fall semester, the Diet and Lifestyle course. For CMEs, CEs, dietitians, CEs, for nurses will be offered, as well as some of the nutrition educator program. And we always have a package for diet and lifestyle with some of our cert courses. So anyway, if you want to talk about any of this, send me an email, pampopper@msn.com. All right, I have a couple things to talk about today. The first thing is, in the United Kingdom, health authorities seem a whole lot more willing to do a lot of things that people here in the United States just consider medical heresy, such as evaluating medical practices and treatment approaches to determine if they're effective, and trying new approaches to resolve health issues if it's determined that older methods really don't work so well. Now, it's driven in part by the fact that the National Health Service is really economically in trouble. It has been for a very long time, and they just cannot afford to write a blank check for health care to the population in the UK anymore. Thus, there is a push to eliminate practices that aren't effective and to try new things and to change policies. One example that's near and dear to my heart is treatment for psychological issues, commonly referred to as mental illness, but I just refuse to call it mental illness. I don't think there is such a condition. I think we all basically have psychological issues, just some of them are serious to need a little help with. Well, instead of the typical referral to a psychiatrist for a 5-minute visit and a prescription, residents of England have access to free and open-ended talk therapy at clinics located throughout the country. Now, this not only includes major cities, but rural areas and immigrant communities that are normally left out of initiatives like this. It's the first program of its type and the first program of its size on the planet, and some interesting things going on with this, which I'll explain to you. The program started in 2008 with 35 clinics and 1,000 therapists, social workers, psychologists, and related professionals. It now screens almost 1 million people per year. About 1 in 3 adults in England has recently received mental health treatment, and authorities expect that the percentage will continue to increase. One of the reasons is that the popularity of the program has destigmatized seeking help for some type of psychological issue. The program currently has a budget of about $500 million per year and is expected to double in the near future. In addition to helping a lot of people, the program's collected significant amounts of data on best practices, which includes the importance of responding quickly and a team approach for deciding how to help patients. The program also includes measuring for efficacy and holding those who administer it accountable for results. We don't have enough accountability in healthcare, in my opinion. Immediate response is an important key, it's one of the metrics they measure, and therapy actually begins during the first call as the individual is evaluated to determine if the person is safe or desperate and how to proceed. Phone, individual, group therapy, online CBT sessions, they have several options. Responses are standardized and monitored and designed to reserve higher intensity therapy and face-to-face sessions for those patients who are at biggest risk and really, really need them. It's one of the ways in which the system controls costs while helping such a large number of people. Results are promising. The recovery rate for people who engage at least 2 sessions of therapy is 50%. It's higher if they do more, and everybody's a little bit different, but still that's promising compared to what we often see with programs in the United States. Now, of course, there are critics. Anything new, you're going to have critics. Critics of the program include that or say that it delivers mostly cognitive behavioral therapy, although the guidelines do permit the use of other techniques. Others state that since patients can call on their own and don't need a referral from a general practitioner, that GPs aren't learning anything about mental health treatment. I'm not sure how important that is. Still others point out that demand is growing, which now results in a wait time of an average of 31 days for individual therapy, although online treatment is offered without much of a wait, and the wait time for group therapy is shorter too. In fact, online options have been very popular, with one therapist stating that young men are often reluctant to show up for a face-to-face session, but they're much more willing to participate in phone and or online work. Now, I have some responses for the critics. One is that cognitive therapy is an effective therapeutic technique. In answer to, or responding to this thing about general practitioners not getting much experience with mental health treatment, they don't have any experience at all. And what they do when people show up with these types of issues is they drug them. So I think that keeping people away from the general practitioners is actually a pretty good idea. Making cheaper methods available faster may result in people seeking less expensive options first in order to avoid the wait time, and as a result, many may not even need more expensive treatment. Well, about 40% of the people who call either don't call back or are not offered therapy. 2/3 don't qualify because they're not depressed or anxious enough, which causes critics to state that some people who might need help aren't getting it. But another way of looking at it is perhaps not all negative mental states are pathology requiring treatment. It seems that the system weeds out people who really don't need treatment as opposed to those who do. And that's a distinct difference, very different from the way things are done here in the United States, whereas as soon as somebody says to any medical doctor, almost, I'm feeling a little sad, or I don't have as much energy as I used to, I'm sleeping more, it's wintertime, I'm tired of the gray skies. I mean, you don't really have to say very much to any physician to get a prescription for Prozac or Zoloft or Xanax or any number of drugs. And in fact, there's a great deal of research that shows, they've actually done studies where people have been sent into a doctor's office to just say things haven't been going so well lately. I lost my job and I'm financially stressed, and 90% of the time, within just a paragraph, the patients are offered drugs. So this idea that there's some weeding out to determine who's really got a problem versus who doesn't, I think that's a good thing. Well, there are several impediments to spreading the use of this program, as successful as it is outside England, and those include opposition from drug companies. Of course, they'd rather see people drugged than getting better, and medical institutions that generate a lot of revenue from drugging people. The fact that psychiatrists in places like the United States have no ability to deliver talk therapy, and so many methods of therapy delivered by those who do talk to patients are just not very effective. But the message is clear. Talking to people instead of drugging them is a better idea, and vast resources to give people inexpensive ways to seek help is a very good idea. So we'll keep our eyes on that program. I'd love to see more of that type of thing here in the United States. It's one of the things that we're working on, is being a delivery system like that through our company. Stay tuned for more information on that. And then we'll finish up with something kind of fun. According to a new study conducted by researchers at Stanford University, when people are given interesting descriptions of healthy foods, they're more likely to choose them. Go figure, right? The study involved offering vegetables to student diners on campus, which were described based on 4 categories: basic, healthy restrictive, healthy positive, or indulgent. For example, green beans were labeled as just green beans, that would be basic; light and low carb green beans and shallots, healthy restrictive; healthy energy boosting green beans and shallots, healthy positive; and sweet sizzling green beans and crispy shallots, indulgent. All green beans were served the same way. The only thing was how the green beans were described on the menu and by servers. When offered the choice, this will not shock you, students chose vegetables with the indulgent, interesting labeling more often than they chose options that were used healthy, restrictive, healthy, et cetera, et cetera. And similar percentages carried over to other vegetables. It wasn't just the green beans. When they did this experiment using other foods and interesting descriptors, the same thing happened. The researchers concluded that the results suggest that promoting foods like vegetables with a health message may not be as effective as describing them as delicious and indulgent. And I don't think it's bad to talk about health. I just think sometimes people think that eating healthy food is drudgery. I mean, I tell people all the time that I don't live on pine cones and tree bark. And I think there's an assumption that I must do that when I'm talking about eating low-fat, high-fiber food and a plant-based diet and a health-promoting diet. And not, all of that sounds wonderful from a logical standpoint. It just doesn't really appeal to people the way that other terms do. Words, advertising, and packaging matter, which is why companies spend billions, hundreds of billions of dollars all over the world on packaging and wording and descriptions and that sort of thing. And it does work for food. For example, Brian Wansink and his colleagues at Cornell University showed that even minor changes in the descriptions of menu items in a restaurant increase food sales by 27%. And I'm talking about terms like traditional, succulent, home style, and grandma's. You take a regular entree and call it grandma's, you increase sales. You take a regular side dish and call it succulent, and people order more of it. So these things make food more appealing. So I think sometimes a little bit less lecturing about the health and a little more promoting how delicious the food is. And I have to say, one of the things that I really like these days is that cookbooks are coming with more pictures. I have my grandmother's cookbooks at home, and they were pretty dry reads. I mean, once in a while they had a little drawing of whatever it is. Here's a little drawing of a pie at the top of a page with the recipe. But I look at the cookbooks that my business partner, Del Shrove, writes, and they're beautiful. I mean, they almost look like beautiful coffee table books with the pictures of the food. And I think if we showed people more of that, they could forget a little bit about the fact that it's healthy and just look at it and say, my gosh, that looks so appealing. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.